Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandata Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Ratha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajacharya Ashtottara Sutashi Madhi His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajacharya Ashtottara Sutashi Madhi His Divine Grace Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Nitai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shishi Guru and Shiguranga. Hari Krishna, 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 Krishna. Krishna, Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, the Summon Bonam, Chapter 60, Krishna teases Rukmini, text number 12. Rajabhyo bhyavata subhru samudram saranam gatam balabhad balabhadi krita dvesham prajastyakta niprashanam Rajabhyo bhyatha subhru samudram sharanam gatam balabhadhikrita dvesham prajastyakta nipashanam rajabhyo bhi rajabhyo rajabhyo bhyatha subhru samudram sharanam gatam balabhadhikrita dvesham prajastyakta nipashanam. Christian. Rajabhya of the kings, Bibhyataha, afraid, Subhru, O lovely brow one, Samudram, to the ocean, Sharanam, for shelter, Gatam, gone, Balabhadbhi, towards those who are powerful, Krita Dvesham, having shown enmity, prajaha, for the most part, sorry, tyakta, having abandoned, nripa, of a king, asanam, the seat. Translation and purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Terrified of these kings, O lovely brow one, we took shelter in the ocean. We have become enemies of powerful men, and we practically abandoned our royal throne. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments on this verse as follows, quote, the Lord's mentality here can be understood as follows. When I gave Rukmini a single flower from the heavenly Parijata tree, Satyabhama showed such a torrent of fury that I could not pacify her even by bowing down at her feet. Only when I gave her a whole Parijata tree she was satisfied. Rukmini, however, did not display any anger even when she saw me give Satyabhama the whole tree. So, how can I enjoy the nectar of angry words from this wife, who never feels jealousy, who is supremely sober, and who always speaks pleasingly? Thus considering, the Supreme Lord decided, if I speak like this to her, I will be able to provoke her anger. This is how some authorities explain Krishna's speech to Rukmini. According to the Acharya, the words balabhadbhi krita dvesham prajaha indicates that the Lord opposed almost all the contemporary kings during his incarnation, befriending only a few, such as the Pandavas and the loyal members of his dynasty. Of course, as stated in the beginning of the 10th canto, Lord Krishna appeared specifically because the earth was overborne by innumerable bogus kings and he wanted to remove this burden. Finally, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti points out the word Tyaktani Prasanam, giving up the king's throne, indicates that after Lord Krishna killed Kamsa, he humbly gave the royal throne to his grandfather Ugrasena, although the Lord himself was entitled to it. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Ummilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimate Ramapada Swami Iti Namine. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatyade Satarine Vanchakalpatarvyasha Kripasindu Vyacha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha. So, the purpose of Lord Krishna is specified by our Vaishnava Acharyas. The explanation of Krishna Krishna has been defined as the Rasha Raj, which is the supreme enjoyer of all these different moods. And Krishna is also um, always searching for this um, to enjoy and to taste all these different relationships in that are completely imbued with perfect love, Krishna Prema. And then we see that there is these two characters that um, Krishna is basically they're very opposite and very different, and Krishna is enjoying that relationship. That is a conjugal relationship. It's what is called Madhurya Ras, or the conjugal relationship. So we have the character of Satyabhama and the character of Rukmini. Now, we hear that the character of Satyabhama is a direct expansion of Shrimati Radharani. So it has exactly the same moods of Shrimati Radharani. And the character of Rukmini has exactly the same mood of Chandravali. So Shrimati Radharani and Shrimati Chandravali, they're the main gopis in Krishna's pastimes in Braja Lila. Shrimati Radharani is explained that she is the head of the left wing gopis, and Srimati Chandravali is um, the head of the right wing gopis. Now, in the scheme of all things, Srimati Radharani is the original pleasure potency of the Lord. And for her, then all these different manifestations, including Chandravali Devi, expands. And it's just to give all these different um, sources of pleasure to the Supreme Lord. But the mood of Srimati Radharani that she manifests, which represent the left wing gopis, is that they're just not afraid of neglecting Krishna. They can be very feisty, and they get angry, and they chastise Krishna or reject Krishna or demand things from Krishna. And they're not afraid about that. The right wing gopis, which are headed by Chandravali Devi, they always want to please Krishna. So they're very submissive, and they never oppose Krishna. Both moods are obviously for giving Krishna's pleasure. So now we have the situation in which these moods are manifested by these the two main queens in Dwarka, Satyabhama Devi and Rukmini Devi. So Satyabhama Devi, she displays these demands and this anger, jealousy, and she was not afraid to express that. In fact, she was very bold. And the only way Krishna was able to pacify her, and actually the source of that display of jealousy and, and anger, was that Rukmini was given by Krishna a parijata flower that she placed on her hair and enhances the beauty. We hear about this exquisite beauty of Shrimati Rukmini Devi in the previous verses, in which it says that, you know, she manifests a form that is equal to the form of the Lord in terms of opulence and beauty and all these features. So just as the Lord's human form is the most beautiful one, is unequal. So Rukmini Devi manifested a form that is suitable and equal uh, in beauty and that type of thing to the Lord. So, um, so Rukmini um, with the flower, Parijata flower, just was exquisitely, I mean, enhanced her whole opulence. And Satyabhama became jealous. So she wanted also a Parijata flower. What is this? You know. So these are these are the natural things that happens in this type of relationship when involve more than when involves a much greater group than two persons. So in this case, we have not experience of co-wives, but we have experience of you know um families with suppose um, parents with many children, and then there is always this competition for having the attention, and there's jealousy sometimes. If we see, sometimes we see also in communities, you have the persons or the heads of the community, and if we feel that we don't have equal treatment, then we feel there is no justice. There's certain sense of jealousy and unhappiness about that there is not equality. Why this person have this? I should have it also. It's not fair. And when it comes to when there is manifestations of attachments also have this feature of possessiveness. And there is often you see that in children, when these emotions are basically they have no filters. They're fully out there with children. There's no filters. So then you see between children they demand the attention. So if you give attention to to one children, the other child, no? If you give attention to one child, the other child start to, you know, feel like, no, I want that attention for me. So, so that type of natural emotions are manifested in this material world in a perverted form of the original sort of manifestations that are there in the relationships in the spiritual world. So all these different um, flavors and the way this relationship manifests different uh, situations and different emotions and different connections and all that originally exists there and is manifested here. So we do have that type of experience, but when those type of experience happen here, there is basically particularly base emotions that always lead, regardless, always lead to an experience of a negative experience, an experience of misery that in general manifests as lamentation and hankering. So there's always this fear of loss, and there's always this fear, this desire to have something to possess. And the end result of those things is that we become more and more entangled in the miserable, you know, situations in this material world. In the spiritual world, it's a different thing. We hear about it. That all those different flavors of emotions that manifest in these relationships are a source of bliss. And we know by Srila Rupa Goswami the science of rasa that he explains in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the nectar of devotion, that there's 5 primary rasas and then there are 7 secondary rasas. So the 7 secondary rasas, when they manifest, they enhance the one of the um, um, dominant primary rasas. So in this case, we have the conjugal rasa, the Madhurya rasa. And then you have all these 7 uh, secondary rasas that when they manifest, then they bring out or they enhance the experience of ecstasy, of joy, of love that is there in the primary rasas. So, Srila Rupa Goswami divides in general is the whole rasa science um, have these divisions that Srila Rupa Goswami say. One is called karana, which means the stimulus. What causes um, this rasa or this flavor, this mood? And that stimulus can be external or can be related to the stimulus is the external part of this, um, what causes that. And in general, this stimulus is divided into 2. One is the setting, that is called udipan. So the whole scenario, the setting that is there. And the other one is alambam, which is the characters of the people that are involved. So we see during this whole pastime, in this case, the beginning of this chapter starts by describing the beautiful palace of Srimati Rukmini Devi, right? Remember that the palace was, so beautiful and there was all these ornaments and all these things. So that is the Udipam, that is the setting. And then the Alambam, the people that are involved in this case is Lord Krishna and Srimati Rukmini Devi. And then also the situation that sort of the whole situation in which the pastime is happening is that Krishna has just experienced a pastime with Srimati Satyabhama Devi. And also that in itself has all these different stimulus and ended in all kinds of interactions. But the fact is that Lord Krishna, now that when he enters the palace of Rukmini Devi, then he observes, in one sense, the very graphically different moods between Satyabhama Devi and Rukmini Devi. So Lord Krishna is thinking, I wonder how she will react from me planting a whole garden of, of parijata, this Parijata tree in the garden of Satyabhama, understanding that the dynamics between co-wife, they have to be some sort of like, wait a minute, why not a Parijata flower, a Parijata tree for all the queens, no, at least the main queens. And Rukmini can make a case. She's the main queen. She's the first queen. So so Krishna is observing, and he sees that as he enters, Shrimati Rukmini Devi is completely sober, peaceful, happy, pleasant. Just it is explained. She just manifested this form of beauty that it was very, very pleasant. Smiling, receiving Krishna in this way. So, um, so then there is this karana, this stimulus. So Krishna is experiencing that setup, that external setup, and experiencing this rasa, or this connection with Srimati Rukmini Devi. Then it comes, Srila Rupa Goswami says, the karya. The karya means the external actions that are, in general, that are expressed with emotions and with gestures, like that. And those actions can be of these two types, conscious or unconscious. So, in this case, we see Krishna thinking, and he decides to try to make Rukmini angry, because he wants it to taste something different in the relationship with Srimati Rukmini Devi. So he wanted to see her angry, reacting, because she is always, she was just never will oppose Krishna. I mean, Krishna can do whatever, and so they never oppose Krishna, because it's this mood that they're afraid Krishna will leave them. Chandravali Devi and Rukmini Devi. That's the mood. She's afraid that Krishna will leave her. And then finally, Srila Rupa Goswami says that there is this sahakari, which is the assisting emotions, and which is part of these 7 secondary rasas. So all these assisting emotions that will flavor the main emotion, or the main rasa. So as we hear what happened to Shrimati Rukmini Devi, she is going to experience this um, this emotion of horror, of anxiety, of fear. The term is called Baba Baba what Baba Bajika or something. I can't remember. But among them, so the seven secondary rasas they have of joking, um, lamentation, or there is also laughter. There is chivalry. There's horror. There's fear. So so in this case, this extreme fear comes out, and and she loses conscious and all that. We hear that. So all this is Krishna sort of, in one sense, directing or creating situations or trying to create this stimulus for a situation, for a particular flavor of this relationship to manifest. And it's all because Krishna enjoys this type of interactions. And the devotee naturally, in this case, the Shrimati Rukmini Devi, is that's the existence of the devotee. And as Krishna becomes pleased, the devotee also experience this extreme bliss and happiness. So is how this whole science manifests, um, the the whole science of rasa. So um, Krishna is testing Rukmini. In one sense, the way he goes about it, jokingly, but but he have this intention. So it was, um, what he does is that he basically criticized Srimati Rukmini Devi, and in one sense sort of chastise her, because explaining that how in the world you choose me. And Krishna puts himself down, that you know that so many difficulties he have created, because almost like his incompetence. He's afraid of all this, he have to take shelter. He have to run away from all this king just by kidnapping her. He created a whole a whole mess and a whole bunch of difficulties for him, that he have to run away and take shelter in the ocean, create this city to protect himself. So, and his planes are not even a king. And you're such an exalted princess, the daughter of a great king, and that all the kings of the world would, came to actually desiring to marry her. They all equally powerful, equally were equals to her, but not him. He's not even a king, Krishna says. So how in the world you choose me? This is not a this is a very bad choice. Um, Srila Sanatana Goswami comments explaining this. Krishna thinking, I am not suitable as your husband, since I have faults like fear. Out of fear of kings, I have taken shelter of the ocean. Why be afraid of the kings? I've made enemies of powerful kings, but you're also strong. I have given up the throne because I have no kingdom and no army. Or I am without the accoutrements. How you say that? Accoutrements? Accoutrements of a king. Or a princess should marry a prince. I'm not suitable since I have given up the throne. So, you know, so Krishna is making a case to Srimati Rukmini Devi that this is all a mistake. This marriage is a mistake. That's heavy. I mean, he was joking, but you know, like most of us here in this assembly right now, we're being, we have experienced marriage. Only Vivo is, the one who has been saved so far. He's not even smiling. keep sober. So we know how challenges is at time. Especially the experience of if you're married, definitely none of us wants to go through the experiences of going head to head and having a conflict or having our spouse angry at us. You know, like it's not. It's always it's not a pleasant experience. Usually, you have to control your emotions, which is very very challenging. And when you get into this ego thing, then you do things that are not conducive, sometimes hurtful. Sometimes you really, very easily can damage a relationship, when you go through all these type of things. We're not looking for that. But Krishna does. Krishna is looking for that. So he's saying these very heavy things to Rukmini. This whole thing is a mistake. You're not very intelligent. This is also Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti. He comments like this. It's very interesting. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti is Thakur's style of going into Krishna's mind and Rukmini's mind. So he says, Krishna thinking, you think that you're very intelligent. Though you're endowed with all good qualities, you are ignorant of your own welfare. Therefore, you're not intelligent. Why do I say this? Just listen. Then he speaks the next 11 verses that we're going to be hearing to. So basically, he say, "Oh, princess, you are the daughter of a king, and I'm penniless, and I'm a penniless son of Vasudev. Why did you accept me as your husband? You cannot say that you accept me because there was no alternative, for many kings wanted you as their wife. Nor you can say that those kings were inferior in wealth, beauty, and qualities to me, for they were endowed with power, wealth, beauty, and courage like the Lokapalas. They were not devoid of wealth and enjoyed like Rantidev and others. You cannot say that they were far away. They came to your place to request you. Nor can you say that your relatives were opposed, for your brother and father wanted to give you them. To give you them. You also fail to notice my cowardly nature, a great fall in one born as a Kshatriya. I fled from the kings out of fear and now live in the ocean. You cannot say that I thought I show fear. I have proper conduct. For I made enemies with many strong forces, having only a few friends like Arjuna. Being a Yadava, it was not proper for me to be a king just like by killing Kamsa. Rather than by being born as a Yadava, I therefore gave the throne to Ugrasena. So, Krishna is, he, the way he said it is, in one sense, understanding. And sometimes when well, you know, appropriately, when you have an intimate relationship with your spouse, you start to understand the nature of your spouse. And then, understanding the nature of the spouse, you be very mindful to act in such a way that does not disturb that nature. It's part of being thoughtful. It's part of being respectful. It's all these necessary things to elevate or to to create a very trusting and settled relationship. So when you speak, even if you make a joke, you have to be also, you know, mindful of the mood and the nature of, of your spouse. And we know that, sometimes, you may say something you think is funny for you, and you get the whole contrary thing. Your spouse, you get offended. Sometimes we do that in relationship with others. We're thinking, oh, I'm just being funny. And then the person, they say, I don't think that's funny. you know? And then, you get the whole contrary response. So Krishna here, from our perspective, is just breaching all these different things that are sort of important to consider, to have a very um, meaningful relationship with someone. He's being very insensitive to Rukmini's, Devi's mood and nature. And the fact is that as the pastime goes, what, you know, in a jokingly manner, he's teasing her. The chapter is called Krishna Teases Rukmini. The result is not that she goes, gets amused about it. Oh, come on, Krishna. But she actually goes into a whole panic and such an anxiety. When one loses consciousness, is when the situation becomes so overwhelmingly traumatic. The conscious situation becomes so overwhelming for the mind, the conscious mind, that you go into unconsciousness because it's overwhelming. So you lose consciousness. You can't deal with consciously. It becomes too overwhelmed. So that um, overwhelm, it can happen, you know, with something that is physically overwhelming or something that is emotionally overwhelming, and you can lose consciousness like that. So for her, the overwhelming emotion was fear, of losing Krishna. And that, oh, Krishna is saying here that this is all a mistake. This was wrong. This is just not so. If he say if and then if it's all a mistake, then it's going. It's not. It's not. If Krishna feels like that, then what is the use of my life? In fact, that was Shrimati Rukmini Devi's original uh, prayer to Krishna when she sent the letter. You recall Rukmini, when she found that she was to be married to Shishupal, she immediately sent the Brahmana with a letter to Krishna explaining that if she's not able to marry Krishna, there's no reason for her life. She have no reason to live. There's no way she's going to be with anyone else but Krishna. And if that doesn't happen, you know, there's no purpose. There's no reason. So for her to hear Krishna saying that this is a mistake, this union is a mistake, that you make a wrong choice, that it was not an intelligent choice, then for her was the end. So, um, so Krishna, is he being insensitive? Is he being so? From our perspective, in this realm of the material world with these um, perverted reflections, you know, of the spiritual world, then for us, all these things is almost like you have to manage things not to go into um, some miserable situation. And it's because the ruling, the ruling um sort of fuel in this material world is our selfish desire to enjoy material nature. That's a condition of the false ego. And as long as we are sort of afflicted by the false ego, this is also going to be mixed in the situation. And therefore, you have to almost negotiate with other false egos. So you have to always being very mindful, not to cross lines and to draw lines and, all these type of things. Because you have one entity wanted to having some interest, another entity is having the interest and like that. So you have to constantly negotiate. But in the spiritual world, that doesn't exist. In the spiritual world, there's only one interest, and that's Krishna's pleasure. And everything goes around that. And the ruling force is love for Krishna, Krishna Prema. So then, all these different experiences are nothing but enhancement, bring out this Krishna Prema. So when we hear this, that's one of the things that we have to always, we tend to relate the these um, exchanges and connections and relationship, loving relationship. We connect it to our experience, but in our experience is just very different. It's not, we always running on this very thin line that, you know, very vulnerable. Any little thing can push you to the other side. We have, happiness and distress. And and at the end, overall, the situation to be in that tension is always miserable. It's not, you know, it's so conditionally. Happiness is so conditionally to, circumstances that it's just very difficult. In this case, in the spiritual world, this is just, you know, a, an experience of glorifying this loving relationship. And Krishna is sharing that with us in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam and, the Bhakti Shastras. Krishna shared his pastimes, and in his pastimes you can actually see the beauty and, all these different flavors that manifest, this unconditional and uninterrupted type of love that the devotees have for Krishna and Krishna has for the devotees. It's very, very, very sweet and beautiful, very attractive. And when we read that, in one sense, also allow us to connect to our nature, which is also on that same realm. Because we do have, as a spirit soul, that eternal loving relationship with Krishna. And that can manifest with all these different emotions in a particular rasa that that is our nature. So anyway, any comments or questions?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Um, a lot of things going through my mind. Um, First of all, Krishna teased her. He teased Rukmini uh, because he wanted her to express herself, and he wanted to understand her in that different mood, That's that mood of her feelings. He wanted her to reveal herself her feelings in a different way, or in a way that he didn't know about. I'm trying to find out why he teased her like that. And he said so many so many things to hurt her, and I'm thinking that in a joking way. But what was the purpose of him doing that? You know,
Yeah, these devotees are perfect devotees. And in the case of Srimati Rukmini Devi, she's pleasure potency. So it's a particular, um, there, there's, in, in one sense, it's just Krishna wanted to experience something of hers that is, you know, unpredictable. The predictable part is that Shrimati Romini Devi is always in the mood of pleasing Krishna, never opposing Krishna. So she's always very, very in that mood. Krishna wanted to experience from her just for his pleasure. That's all. And the fact is that she have that capacity because she shows there once um, the beauty of the pastime is that it shows her heart, her loving heart. That for her, just to think, even Krishna was joking, just the concept that Krishna would leave her was too overwhelming. So that reveals, her divine, uh, amazing love. And when Krishna pacified her by saying, no, 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 this is just joking words, no, then she becomes angry, and we see. But her anger is also very controlled, and but she chastises Krishna in one sense. So at the end, the devotee will do what is pleasing to Krishna. So Krishna wants to see her angry, so she manifests some anger. But in the process, she also have all these experiences that enhances that loving relationship with Krishna. It's completely different from our situation here. And there's another thing too that um, I was thinking of something and I just lost the idea. yeah, may come later, but and yeah, it's she Shrimati Rukmini Devi. There's nothing to be brought out of perfect, imperfect or incomplete. It's perfect, and that's what I was gonna say. That there is these two manifestations of Madhurya. There's one manifestation of Madhurya that is the Madhurya that is the Brindavan Madhurya Lila, which is devoid of all awe and reverence. And that's the one that is the highest enjoyment from Krishna. And then there's the other Madhurya that is mixed with awe and reverence. And that's the Madhurya that is manifested in Dwarka. So when the mix of awe and reverence is there, it's understanding that Krishna's position as a supreme enjoyer. And then that is less pleasing for Krishna because when you have when the relationship is that, oh no, Krishna is, I mean, he's God, so I have to be very careful, so there's God is always right, that type of thing. So so Krishna wants to break that sort of awe and reverence thing, and he likes to enjoy. He enjoys much better the unpredictability of you know um, no protocol. In general, when there's awe and reverence, we come to the temple, we bow down, we fold our hands, we give prayers, we chant, you know, mantras and that type of thing. There's a protocol. Or if the king or the queen comes, say, you see it sometimes in those monarchies, apparently with the late Queen um, Elizabeth, you have to. There was all kinds of things of protocol. You don't walk in front, that type of thing. So when you when so that protocol, Krishna likes to break, or the predictability of the protocol of awe and reverence to the unpredictability of just a relationship between equals, and so Krishna wants is to enhance that relationship. Anything else?
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay, let's see. Okay, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Sriman Bhagavatam ki jai, Gaura Premanand.